The day cause and effect stopped being reliable. For most of human history, cause came before effect, push then motion, action then consequence. That order felt untouchable. It was how intuition worked, how logic worked, how reality itself seemed to behave. Every event was supposed to sit neatly behind its cause, like beads on a string moving forward in time. The sequence was so deeply embedded in human thinking that questioning it felt less like science and more like madness. To understand why this matters today, we need to revisit how deeply this assumption shaped physics. Early science was built on predictability. If you knew the initial conditions, you could calculate what came next. The universe felt like a machine unfolding step by step, never skipping ahead. This mechanical picture was not merely a useful simplification. It was treated as the fundamental nature of how the world operated. This belief worked remarkably well. Planets followed paths. Pendulums repeated cycles. Forces produced effects with dependable regularity. Cause and effect were not just observed. They were trusted. Every successful prediction reinforced a conviction that the universe was, at its core, a causal chain stretching from past to future in an unbroken line. But beneath that success, a quiet tension was forming. Certain experiments produced results that did not fit the sequence. Effects appeared without clear causes, or causes seemed to arrive too late to explain what happened. At first, these were treated as mistakes, measurement errors, misinterpretations, anything but a real violation. Yet the anomalies persisted. They appeared in carefully controlled settings, repeated across different systems, each one small enough to ignore on its own, but impossible to dismiss together. The pattern of anomalies suggested that the problem was not with individual experiments, but with the framework being used to interpret them. The first crack was subtle, not a reversal of time, not a paradox, but a delay that did not behave as expected, an outcome that seemed to anticipate a choice not yet made. Cause and effect were still connected, but the order was no longer obvious. This was the moment physics hesitated. Because if cause and effect could blur, then predictability itself was in question. The universe might still be lawful, but not in the straightforward way everyone assumed. And once that possibility was taken seriously, the most basic structure of explanation began to shift. At first, physicists tried to protect the familiar order, cause had to come first, effect had to follow. If experiments suggested otherwise, something else must be wrong. Hidden delays, unaccounted interactions, experimental artifacts waiting to be corrected. So the setups were refined. Timing was tightened. Distances were controlled with extreme precision. Every loophole that could restore a clean sequence was tested. But the strange behavior did not disappear. It became clearer. Each refinement, rather than eliminating the anomaly, sharpened it, making the departure from classical causal order more visible and more difficult to explain away. In some experiments, outcomes depended on choices made after the event seemed to occur. Decisions in the present altered patterns recorded in the past, not by rewriting history, but by reshaping what could meaningfully be said about it. The sequence remained intact, yet the explanation did not. This created a deep conflict. Physics relied on causal stories. A happened, therefore be occurred, but these results resisted that narrative. There was no signal traveling backward, no violation of speed limits. And yet, the link between cause and effect refused to line up neatly in time. The universe was not breaking causality. It was exposing its limits. As this understanding spread, a new picture began to form. Events were not always defined independently of future conditions. Outcomes were not fully determined at the moment they occurred. Some aspects of reality remained undecided until later interactions resolved them. The present, in a sense, was not fully complete until the future had contributed its part. Emotionally, this was unsettling. It suggested that the universe did not finalize events the moment they happened. Reality behaved more like a process than a record. Meaning emerged through relationships across time, not just through sequences. By this point, cause and effect had not vanished, but they had softened. They no longer formed a rigid chain. They formed a network where timing mattered less than consistency. The day cause and effect stopped being reliable was not the day the universe broke. It was the day physics realized that explanation had been simpler than reality itself. The conflict sharpened when physicists realized this was not a rare exception. It was a pattern. The more carefully reality was examined, the more often clean causal order dissolved into something subtler. Certain properties did not exist until measured. Certain outcomes depended on how questions were asked, not just when. The universe behaved as if it cared about consistency more than chronology, as if it was less concerned with what happened first and more concerned with what fit together. This buildup forced a painful realization. Cause and effect were not universal primitives. They were approximations, useful at human scales, reliable in everyday systems, but not fundamental. At deeper levels, reality did not commit to a strict timeline. What appeared to be a basic feature of the universe turned out to be a surface pattern, reliable in the domain where humans operate but absent from the deeper structure of physical law. Instead, physics revealed constraints, global rules that had to be satisfied across an entire process. Events were allowed only if the overall story made sense. The universe enforced coherence, even if that coherence blurred temporal order. Emotionally, this was destabilizing. Time had always been the backbone of explanation, before and after, past and future. Remove that backbone and understanding felt unmoored. The universe was no longer a sequence of steps. It was a web of conditions. Yet, nothing actually broke. Signals still respected limits. Paradoxes did not appear. The universe remained consistent, but it achieved that consistency without relying on strict cause-first logic. Causality survived, but only as a special case. The deeper principle was not sequence but coherence, not order but balance. By this point, physics had crossed a quiet threshold. It no longer assumed that causes always precede effects in a simple line. It allowed explanations that spanned time, linking outcomes to conditions set both before and after. Cause and effect did not disappear. They stopped being reliable guides to how reality is organized at its deepest level. The climax of this story is not a paradox, but a reframing. Cause and effect did not fail because the universe became irrational. They failed because they were never the deepest way reality stayed consistent. Once this was understood, physics stopped forcing events into a single timeline. Instead, it focused on constraints, rules that had to be satisfied across an entire process, regardless of order. The universe did not care which step came first. It cared that the whole picture balanced. This changed how explanation itself worked. Instead of asking what caused what, physicists began asking what relationships were allowed. Outcomes were not pushed forward by causes. They were selected by consistency. Reality behaved less like a chain reaction and more like a solved puzzle. This insight reshaped modern physics. It explained why delayed choices could influence outcomes without sending signals backward, why measurement could define past behavior without rewriting history. The universe was not changing the past. It was completing it. Today, cause and effect still work where they always have, at human scales, in everyday systems. But beneath that surface, there are approximations, not absolutes, reliable tools, not fundamental truths. The day cause and effect stopped being reliable was not a breakdown of order. It was a deeper order revealing itself, one that values coherence over sequence, consistency over chronology. And once that order is seen, the universe stops feeling paradoxical. It starts feeling precise in a way intuition was never built to expect. Subscribe to join the journey. The day